We are live.
Oh, we live?
From Nubian Human and the Anacostia Arts Center in historic Anacostia, Southeast Washington, D.C. We got to stay, spread out a little bit for the people. Why is it not there? It is. Okay. Yeah. So welcome to the Neighborish livecast. I'm Super Dave, a.k.a. Mr. Incredible. And with me, as always, is one of the dopest individuals in the DMV.
Thanks, Dave.
The SC3 representative, DC's native son.
Hey.
My co-host, Jay Son.
Hey.
We are co-hosts. I don't like to say my co-host. Like we host Coley. And, we got to waiting to hear and see if our feminine energy is going to be here
We
today.
never know. Like, she don't contact us. But she probably not, though, because she's real cautious about the Rona.
So I just watch the feed and see if she say some stuff.
Yeah.
But either way, we have a great show for you today because our guest today is one of...
Get your notes, Dave.
Yeah. I didn't even have enough. Our guest today, I don't know who he knows.
I don't know if the last play... What was the joint for the hip-hop theater? Was it The World of Mumbo? The joint you wrote? Oh. He don't even know. Dave asked me all of the names of all your plays, and that was the one I didn't know.
Because I wanted to make sure I had him.
I can't.
Okay, it's fine. Dave, John has a play that he does not know the title of his own play. That's just how it goes sometimes.
Well, no, I mean, it involves mumbo, so it's the other side of mumbo.
There it is.
The other side of mumbo.
Yeah,
okay.
So I just knew. Thank you, John.
No problem.
It was an alternative universe. So
right.
I remember what the play was about. But the
wow. We're going to have to talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely.
But, so anyway, this gentleman is an author, a poet, a playwright, an actor, a tribe healer, the creator of Verbal Gymnastics, and the owner and operator of verbalgymnastics.com. Ladies and gentlemen, John Johnson is with us today.
Hello,
and we're so glad to
hello,
have you in the building, man. Dope individual. I've seen you around a million times. I feel like every time it dawned on me that every time we're in the same place with my brother, I say, that's my brother, right? And you're like, yes, I know, all right. But yeah, man, it's so great to have you here. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to learn from you, your inspiration and stuff like that. I definitely want to get into all of that. But first, there's a few things going on in the city, in the country, in the world that we need to talk about, and we're going to talk about it right now. I'm gonna set up like a beat and a little transition. I'm gonna call it "Let's Talk About It."
Okay. We didn't do intro music today.
Well, it was on. It just wasn't playing. Thing. I'm still having technical situations, but we're gonna figure it out. Get it popping. You got people shouting out to you. Jeffrey Banks said, "What's up, John?"
What's up, big homie?
Yeah. So we got
John's
a few things
popular.
that we want to talk about. Yeah, apparently I didn't. Well, I did know. Yeah, you're pretty because you do a lot in the city and a lot for the city, and so that's always usually recognized. So yeah, I definitely want to start with talking about America woke up this morning to major shutdowns, everything from churches to jobs to schools to amusement parks. Maryland's governor even announced that they are closing the casinos as the CDC recommended. As the CDC's recommendation of stopping gatherings of more than 1,000 people have dropped to not having gatherings of 50 people or more. And looking at the situation objectively, I feel like it's a logical, logical steps to try to, if we're trying to stop this virus that's spread by people coming in contact with each other, you try to curtail the contact as much as you can. One of the things I don't understand is and I think WTOP said it was reminiscent of like a storm, how people are going to the grocery stores and filling up on getting a lot of groceries and the shelves are empty and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if, the virus is going to take the food, or I don't know what's like the logic behind that necessarily, especially the toilet paper. Like diarrhea is not even a symptom of...
There's somebody with like 87 rolls of toilet paper thinking it's the end of the world.
Right.
I can't wipe my ass. I'm knocking on your door, homie.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Hoarding toilet paper is not going to be the answer.
It's definitely. I don't think is anywhere near the answer. Right. So I mean, this panic is like something that I haven't seen. I don't think I've ever seen this level in my life. Like even around 9/11 and stuff like that. It wasn't like...
Well, I do think people need to stay calm. You know what I'm saying? I think like love and humanity is like the best answer for all this. Like sharing, not necessarily... I mean, still social distance or distancing.
Right.
But, I saw a couple dudes outside being like sharing lip balm, like, hey man, lip homie. I was like, oh no more. Like, it's the end of the daps.
Right. You get the elbow.
Like when you see somebody touch hands now, you must be like, yo, they in love.
Right.
Really, you having unprotected sex right now.
Right, pretty much.
So it's that part is real, but the panic and the hoarding of toilet paper
is a little outlandish. I think just a little. Just a little. Something I didn't think about, and I saw somebody post about on social media was with all the school closings and people not being able to take off work sometimes or work from home. It's a big rush on like healthcare childcare. Like people really searching, trying to find so if that's
there's no child care unless there's a child care that has less than 50 kids. They
exactly, and that's a good point also.
So unless you bringing Johnny to the construction site and putting a hard hat on him, or you taking him to work, then you at home.
Right.
So I think the question is today, how many people aren't going to show up for work?
Right.
And I think it's really time for us to kind of just sit back and reflect on what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like I was talking to Jason the other day about how it's a fight every morning with my kids. I have 2 children. I have a 5 and an 8-year-old. Mm-hmm. And waking them up every morning, they just mad that we end up beefing in the morning just to get them ready for school. So this is the time where they can kind of wake up naturally, and then we have some things for them to do. But the anxiety and the conflict that happens early in the morning doesn't have to happen. So I'm looking forward to that part of it. But I don't know how long I can endure my kids. I know that they say that sometimes they eat the young. The animals just
that's the best way out. Just go ahead and make them a meal.
Right. So we'll see after 2 weeks
how it happens. Right, exactly. I talked to a friend of mine. That's the interesting sentiment, because I was talking to a friend of mine Saturday, and he was saying how he works for an architecture firm, and he was saying how his boss was seriously contemplating, they had got the word that they were supposed to, basically either let everybody work from home or basically close the building so they could clean it and stuff. But the boss was still trying to figure out how to keep them there because she didn't want to go home to be with her kids. And I mean, that's the interesting. I'm not a parent, so I don't get that. But not want to be with them. Though. I mean, I definitely understand the struggles and, like you said, that war in the morning. Because I've heard a couple of comedians talk about that. In the morning. And then also, with my nephew and different things like that, kind of understanding it. But, of course, not being a parent, I don't get the direct understanding of it. But yeah, to not want to be around them all day, to not be like, oh, this is a good opportunity to pour into them or, teach them. That's kind of a weird sentiment to me. But like I said, I don't get it. You guys have kids. How do you feel about, having your kids or being with them all day? Is it like that? Is it like a dread when you're like, oh, I got to keep them?
Oh, it's like heaven for me. It's the most beautiful experience that I've endured. Yeah, I mean, I've been looking forward to it. I've been trying to homeschool for years. So this is just my opportunity. I got a different relationship with my children. I've never had any trouble ever getting them up to go to school. I've never really had any trouble out of my children ever at all. Period.
Jay is super dad.
And so this time is supernatural for me. It's like a supreme, blessed opportunity. I feel like I've been rewarded for hard work and righteous living. Yeah, so that's my sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to them. I feel like I've endured the Thanksgiving breaks, and I got 2 or 3 weeks in me, and I'm gonna enjoy being with them. But they're gonna also get on my nerves. They've developed friendships and stuff now that they miss with from their classmates and stuff like that. So sometimes there can be a little animosity, amongst that. And I have mine's are 8 and 5, so one needs a nap, and if she doesn't get a nap, she's so. I want to be that person who takes that midday nap with her, but then the other one doesn't allow. It's just kind of recalibrating the relationship. I am looking forward to being with my kids too, but after this 2-week break, I think they need to go socialize with other folks that are under the age of 10.
Understood, definitely. So yeah, I just thought that was weird that she was she just didn't want to be with them. But I mean, like I said, understand that some of the hassles that parents go through sometimes. I guess it's understandable, but I don't know. I feel kind of weird about it.
I made 22 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Right, I'm tired of all this PB&J.
I peeled 17 oranges.
Right.
Oh, you see my kids out here now.
Yeah,
chilling.
And Jimmy won't finish his juice box.
So, but yeah, this whole corona thing, I knew it was getting bad when Forrest Gump got it. Tom Hanks. They said he had him and his wife were in Australia though, and Australia has a kind of a high rate of it. So they contracted it. He put up a post, I think it was yesterday, saying that he was doing okay. They're getting treatment and things of that nature. So, but I was like, Forrest, not Forrest. Anyway. But one of the things, if you're home this week and maybe next week, at least you'll have a plethora of new entertainment to occupy your time. We were just talking about some of the new music that's out now. I just listened to the Jay Electronica album, which is actually a Jay-Z album featuring Jay Electronica, in my opinion. But it's a dope album. Jay, you say you ain't like it as much?
Well, I mean,
that's the patented Jay exhale. He does it.
I'm a Jay Electronica fan, so I was just disappointed because it seemed rushed. It didn't seem well thought out as a project. Now, lyrically, they both kill it. Like, you can't say like, oh, they ain't spitting bars on there. But, the production seemed loose. And it just, for 10 years of anticipation, it sucked to me.
You said sucked was a hard term.
As a project. Yeah, but, bar for bar, like, it's kind of unmatched. The lyricism, like you got to respect their lyricism. But as a project, I don't like it at all. Like, and I tried to listen to it because I listened to it the first time and I didn't feel it. And I was like, nah, this Jay-Z and Jay Electronica. Something must be wrong. I'm missing something. Then I listened to it again. I was like, nope, it sucks. Like, it's not. It feels like a mixtape. Like it seemed like an experimental, creative output. It's like an Erykah Badu experiment. So it's real good. It's real good. You know what I'm saying? So it's not saying it's a bad project, but it just seemed like an experimental, let me try to throw some things out there without like a concrete direction or meaning for it. So, I like Royce the 5'9" joint much better.
Okay, yeah, and I felt like the opposite. I felt like the vibe carried through the whole album, and it felt like they worked on making sure it maintained that mellow kind of feel throughout the album. So, I like the way it was put together. I feel like I was saying, I feel like Jay might have had to step in because, Electronica had been signed for, like you said, how long? Well,
I know he dropped Exhibit C in like 2009.
Yeah, and so it's... Yeah, and so he got signed maybe a little after that, and it's been about that long, and so waiting for something. And knowing the fans really wanted it, I'm thinking Jay probably stepped in and was like, all right, let me go ahead and put some verses on here to finish this up. But
that's what it seemed like. That's what it seemed like.
I feel like that just because of how long it took and the fact that it's so Jay-Z heavy, but I feel like it didn't. It felt like they worked it together.
But I heard they did it in 10 days.
The whole album, or it was stuff that was ready?
Well, some of the stuff, I know one or two of the songs I've heard back when Exhibit C was out. And he just put it on there. But I heard they recorded everything in 10 days.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
I don't know. Because I've heard stuff that's recorded quick. Like, the younger rappers would be like, yeah, it took me a week to record this. And, a week from writing it to recording, and it sounds like that. But I don't feel like this sound, it felt like a project to me. I don't know. But we have different ideas of, different directions and, so it is what it is. But yeah, like you said, Royce the 5'9" has a joint out, the Allegory. I haven't heard that one yet. Eminem, his album came out, I think it was last month, but it's still Music to Be Murdered To. They're doing the whole, the challenge now on, have y'all seen the
Godzilla challenge?
Yeah, the Godzilla challenge. Have you seen that? Yeah. Oh, okay. But, so he has the last verse of the song Godzilla on there. He spits it really fast, and so he's been challenging people to copy it, and a lot of people have tried it. Some people have been able to do it. It's so interesting that
spit it with a face mask on now.
Corona
mask on.
Right. It's so interesting that it'll be like the little goofy little white kid from the Midwest that just does it perfectly. But then it's rappers have tried it and not been able.
Oh, you know who else got a challenge? Kingpin Slim. Kingpin Slim got the
for real?
The Gully Vibes challenge. Shout out.
Yeah, it's Kingpin Slim. Yeah, I know the brother, but I didn't know he had new music out. It's called Gully Vibes, and he got a Gully Vibes challenge. I actually submitted something on it,
just because he's from DC, and I like supporting people that I know. And
was producer for Wale in the beginning and stuff like that.
Oh, he was? Yeah. Okay, I didn't even know that, but I just, I've rocked with Kingpin Slim, so I participated in his challenge.
Nice. So it's like I said, a lot of music out. Jada Kiss, I got to check out that one too. Ignatius,
Jason and XO got new music out.
Yeah, I was like, you got to make sure you shout out the, the dude that's sitting, a couple of feet from me.
Yeah.
Jason, the single "Don't Die" is rocking right now.
That's what y'all should do during the Rona. Don't die.
Yeah, and it's timely. The name is timely.
Yeah, that's what my homegirl Kim said. That she was like, "This is very timely."
Yeah. But one thing that you won't be able to get is it's still not clear whether Donald Glover's album Donald Glover Presents was released by mistake or it's a publicity stunt. But late Sunday evening, the entire album, including tracks from 21 Savage, Ariana Grande, and SZA, was pulled off of his website, DonaldGloverPresents.com, with no explanation. Donald Glover Presents is also the name of the Adidas shoe line that he's working on with Adidas that's supposed to drop later this year. So they're thinking possibly, the album might come out in conjunction with that. But it was out for like a day and a half, and people that got it said it was really good. I was going to wait till the day and download it, but it's gone now. So I guess I can't do that. But he who hesitates is lost, I guess.
Hey, that's good. Where's that from, Dave?
That's a quote that I saw on the internet.
Oh, okay. From internet joint.
Somebody from Facebook said. No, it's an old quote. I will find out who said it.
Thank you. Do you get some notes on that, Dave?
Things. And speaking of the entertainment, there's also some good stuff coming to Netflix this month, including some gangster classics, Donnie Brasco and Goodfellas. So if y'all haven't seen those, and also when I was looking at the stuff on Netflix, I was going to talk about a bunch of other shows, but then I realized it's a movie on there called Love.com, featuring the dude that we had on here 2 weeks ago, Wes Felton. So if you're gonna watch anything on Netflix, check out Love.com. Support the brother.
Shot
He's a
right
dope
here in
individual.
DC.
All in
around
DC.
The corner
Raheem Devon, Lisa Ray is in it. Who else? It's a bunch of people. Supposed to be really good.
Prashon is in it.
Yeah.
What's the sister we did the show? Angus.
Okay.
Angus is in it. That's the only people I can think of off the top of my head.
People should watch it and find out.
Love.com on
right.
Netflix.
You might see
a whole bunch of DC
your grandma
people.
as an extra in the background.
Got a bunch of DC extras
playing the lottery.
Right. Check it out.
Some scratch off tickets in the background.
Erykah Badu got something out called Incense. Somebody shout out.
But she released the online market. I think it's Erykah Badu Worldwide Market, something like that. But she's selling incense that smell like her pussy.
Oh, okay.
And they like $100 a pack.
I've heard about that. Yeah. So, and they sold out real quick and all that. I wonder how they, how they got
$1,000 well spent.
Who did the research? You got 2 packs of them. But who did the research to make the candle? Like, did she do it herself?
Probably Jay Electronica. Why the album sucks?
He's like, I gotta hurry up and finish this album.
Smelling incense.
She's like, just one more sniff, baby.
Right.
But yeah, speaking of the movies, if you want to lean into your worry about coronavirus, there's a couple of movies that you can search. A lot of people, one of the most searched movies on all of the streaming sites has been Contagion, which is a movie about
2011,
an outbreak.
right?
But yeah, it's a couple of other outbreak movies like Outbreak with the monkey. There's World War Z, 28 Days Later, I Am Legend. So,
V for Vendetta.
Yeah, it was about
it's a couple joints about like martial law and like those two, like V for Vendetta, I Am Legend. It's a couple other joints, yeah. I wouldn't recommend watching that shit.
Some people want to lean into it and be scared all the way.
Lean
so they want to just right.
Okay.
But I wanted to say real quick, a coworker brought this to my attention, and I realized it's true, and I did it yesterday, is while you're washing your hands and cleaning down your house and your doorknobs and scrubbing everything, take a second, get some Clorox wipes or whatever you use, and clean your cell phone. Like, you take your cell phone with you it's always with you, it's in the bathroom, it's different places, and you don't even think about how many germs can be collected on that thing. So yeah, clean it thoroughly, and that might save your life. Hopefully it does. I don't know, but I just wanted to throw that out there for all the people watching. You're welcome.
Thanks, Dave.
The End of the World with Tom Cruise. Rosaline said that's supposed to be a good one.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we appreciate it.
What's up, Hosalani?
Yeah. Rosalani, thank you for
Hosalani.
Hosalani.
I know it's an R, but Just trust us, Dave.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Like they said, I'm great at destroying names. No, please charge it to my head and not my heart. I appreciate you for rocking with us. But I'm not going to try to say it anymore because I don't want to mess it up. But so another historic landmark and a monument to the glory of ODC is gone. I'm, of course, referring to the historic Uptown Theater in Cleveland Park. AMC, who ran the theater, through their spokesperson, said that they have ceased operations at the Uptown Theater on Connecticut Avenue, and all employees have been given the opportunity to move to other AMC locations. The theater was built in 1936 by Warner Brothers, and it's been in the news and it's been the site for a lot of notable premieres such as Star Wars, and one of the biggest was Jurassic Park. When the original Jurassic Park came out, like all of the stars from Jeff Goldblum to Sam Jackson, everybody who was in it came through, and it was a huge thing. It's a huge piece of DC history, and they're saying that their lease was up at the end of March the 31st, so they went ahead and finish it out. So I'm hoping maybe somebody else will come in and, as
we've been looking for a theater,
places.
John.
Yeah.
What you trying to do?
I mean, it's a movie theater.
Oh.
But originally it was like a stage, right?
I think it was
back in the day, and they just
back in the 30s. It was a theater.
Yeah.
Then they came with them motion pictures.
Right.
They tried to get fancy.
Right.
I think originally it was a theater.
Yeah.
So me and John gonna get that joint.
Yep.
Send your donations to.
And John just go along with it, yeah.
Or, I mean, push come to shove, we just turn into a dispensary and then supply the giraffes at the zoo up the street.
Hey, see, that's why it's good to have creative
the
friends.
zebras and
those thoughts with it, exactly. So, if you're a fan of classic horror movies from the 80s, the early 90s, you'll be happy to know that Jordan Peele is working on a remake of the classic Candyman.
Man, I saw the trailer. That shit looks scary.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not
good,
watching
right?
that.
roller coasters and scary movies. I'm done with all that, man.
You say you don't do none of them no more?
Scary movies and roller coasters. I might be able to watch a Chucky joint and laugh now because Chucky is like not scary, but like
it's something that's truly. I kind of feel like that too. Like I feel like when I was younger, I used to watch all of them, and then I was working one weekend in my office like by myself, and I watched World War Z. And that was the first time I had seen zombies that could run fast. And I wasn't scared, but I did have to watch Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs to calm down after I finished watching.
That sounds like a pandemic movie too, though.
Yeah.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
Oh, well, I thought you were talking about
no, that's an amazing movie though.
I know, I love it.
Really well done.
I've watched these kids movies are serious.
But yeah, so I'm gonna mess up. I know I'm gonna mess up these names. The new Candyman is starring Yahya Abdul Mateen II. He's from like Aquaman, Us, and Watchmen. Tiana Paris from like Chirac, and it's based on the original 1992 horror movie by legends Clive Barker and Wes Craven. And Vanessa Williams and the original Candyman Tony Todd are set to make appearances in the movie. So I might check it out just for the nostalgia, because I remember Candyman back in the day and the big.
I've never said that.
What?
3 times. I know it's a movie. There's no need for me to play them games like that. I don't need that in my life. You know?
I don't need to joke around like that. It's too close to serious.
You can say it. That had nothing to do with me. That's on you.
You have to say it in the mirror though. For him to come and get
I'm not scared if you say it. I'm just saying I've never done it.
You never wanted to just find out if it might have been based in some kind of reality.
Yes, it doesn't tweak my interest.
Maybe if you spell it, you still say Candyman.
All right, but yeah, they said 3 times, so don't say it too much. No, I'm just playing.
Well, it's no mirror. You got to do it in the mirror, John.
There's one over there.
There's a couple in here.
We're gonna try it next week on the show. We're gonna try it.
Y'all can. It's not that I'm scared, because it's like I'm covered.
You just gotta watch Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs now to calm down.
I'm good, man. I ain't fearing nothing, which is why I have a whole different outlook on the whole Rona pandemic. It's the same confidence and belief system that I've always had. Like nothing really changes. So you can say it 40 times. That don't make me.
What's that belief system?
Well, in regards to people's safety and fearing, for their lives, and I'm just grounded in like the spirit of God and in constant conversation and meditation, understanding that all things can be healed and no weapon formed against us shall prosper. So if people who really believe that they are aligned with a certain energy or certain ancestors or certain entities that have been in this dimension that have gone on and still connect with us, there's really no fear in whatever we face. And so in regards to like this particular pandemonium that's happening around the world, it seems to be a virus that is attacking people's respiratory systems and immune systems. So daily practices are, in my life and in my family, is that we constantly are holistically improving our immune systems and respiratory systems so that, just in general, without a pandemic. And I've personally witnessed the body's capabilities and abilities to heal. Mm-hmm. I've seen people be cured of HIV and AIDS. I've seen people be cured of cancer. I've seen people be cured of STDs and ailments and illnesses. And I've witnessed these miracles with my own eyes. Mm-hmm. So for something on the news or something that's abroad that comes forth, it's not going to change what I've already witnessed and believed and saw with my own eyes about the body's capability to heal and miraculously, make things well and better, because I've seen it. And so nothing new is going to change that perspective. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just what I've been aligned with my whole life. So I'm not going to wait to this time to be like, oh, I don't know what to do, I'm going to be frightened. But that's not to say people shouldn't be cautious and mindful. Right. But what I'm saying is, it's like, if you witness miraculous healing on several occasions, continuously, all the time, all your life, I just have a perspective and an outlook that may seem off to the casual person just living everyday life. You know what I'm saying? So, which is why I don't really have a lot to say, because it's emotional to people, and people are trying to maintain their sanity and protect their families and their children. So I don't really have anything outwardly to say, but it's like people should also be mindful of people such as myself who have walked this life their entire life, and nothing can move that connection to the Most High or to our ancestors that keep you protected and healed and safe and strengthened, in all of those things. So, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and that's so true. It's like, I noticed on social media recently, it's been like, because that idiom, that thing, it always tries to create a divide. So it tries to find the common thing about us and create a divide. And when I say the social media as a thing, I mean the people there, because of course it's an object that's just put there, but there's always people who try to use it. And so now the most recent thing that I've seen is people who are worried and panicked about it, and people who aren't really as worried about it. And so now there's trying to be this, how can you not be worried about it?
People are mad at
each other.
Like, I was like, no, because certain people are like, oh, you should be doing this. Like, I don't take it personally. Or if people are doing what I feel may be a bit like, I don't.
Yeah, but it's always somebody who's going to say, oh, these people crazy.
But I'm not that person. Yeah.
That back and forth. And I mean, those type of things, like, it's never helpful in times like this. It just creates a whole nother issue to deal with on top of the thing that's already being dealt with. So I just noticed that. I thought it was, a little insane.
So and I agree that that your mental health and the confidence that you will be okay is important, so that you aren't unstable, because your mental health is definitely important. Yeah. But I will say that, what adjustments have you made based upon this information that's out here? Like, I'm not dapping up people right now.
Yeah,
like, that's a no-go. Yeah. When I saw the dudes outside sharing lip gloss, I'm like, yo, that, you know what I mean? Like,
that really got to him.
I hope it was chapstick or not lip gloss.
I mean, whatever it was. They had to dip their finger.
I don't know what's going on your block.
The dude was like, yo, man, he stuck his finger, put his stuff on his lips, and man was like, hey, man, like, his lips was ashy. He's like, yo, let me get some of that. And I was just like, yo.
I hope it was like the Carmex. It wasn't like...
it wasn't...
whatever it was.
I hope it ain't had no shimmer.
You never know in these days and times.
I wouldn't be sharing it, but I'm saying, so Jason, and have you guys, what adjustments have you made though So I know you said you have confidence and, and the belief in your ancestors and all that and all of that. I'm not taking away from that. But have you done anything different other than like washing your hands?
That's a good
Well,
question.
I mean, you know me, John. This is my lifestyle anyway. So the same precautions that the world is telling people to do now in these times, that's how I live everyday life. I have stockpiles of water and food and weapons, and that's just how I live. And people seem that that I have a weird type of lifestyle, but now when an occurrence like this happens, it's like I don't really have to do anything different than what I've always been doing. Like I'm always taking vitamins and minerals and certain supplements for me and my children all the time that deal with our immune system and deal with our respiratory system. And, we're always eating right and exercising, and we're always, doing drills in case of emergency. Like that's my everyday life.
So you have the toilet paper. That's
yes.
Okay, all right.
But I've had a lot of toilet paper for months now.
Right.
Like,
Just because you don't like running out of toilet paper.
Right, yeah. It's just like I'm
now
not
I feel
doing
more
anything.
confident.
Right, yeah.
That I know where to get my toilet paper.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
There's nothing different. So I haven't done anything different to answer your question. But
Hey,
I would say that my normal day-to-day lifestyle is a bit different from the normal person's everyday lifestyle too.
Right. I saw a meme that said the germaphobes and the obsessive compulsives are now just looking at everybody like, I told you. Now you come to me.
Now you're knocking on me. Now you want some toilet paper.
Right. So, but yeah, I don't think I really. I mean, I definitely have changed some of my routines to be more conscious. The biggest thing I was talking to a coworker about yesterday was recognizing how many times you touch things and then touch your face, because it's such a subconscious thing to, like, if it's an itch or eyelash or anything, it's to do it. So you'll find yourself being conscious of it and recognizing how much you do it and having to really make a concerted effort to not do that it was a little bit of a challenge. But after a while, you get it. Like you say, it's almost like it's second nature, as seeing somebody you haven't seen, hey, what's up, and dapping them up and stuff like that. But I
dapped somebody up yesterday.
Okay. Did you wash your hands?
My man Victorious opened up his smoothie spot called Spizzy out in Temple Hills. And then when he came to greet me, he gave me like the regular dap, but I love Vic. And I was like, fuck it. It's Vic. You know what I'm saying? But everybody else, I've been doing the elbow joint.
Right.
But, I don't know why. And I was going to stop it and pause it, but I was like, nah, fuck it. If Vic got it, we can get through this. We can get through it. They can be good.
Right. But a handshake now is going to show real loyalty.
Right.
That's how it was. So Vic, know that I love you, brother.
You're not giving out any of that. And I feel like that's the way the world is going to change too. Like I feel I have some empathy, and I feel sorry for like the other generation. Like when it comes to intimacy and stuff. Like you put some Perel on your hands. You know what we do with our hands?
Right.
We stick our hands in all different types of places. Now you got to be like, yo, what are we doing here? We all hopping in the shower. It's just a whole different. A long time ago, you would just kind of engage in certain ways.
That's
now
true.
It's like
that's true. And
you got to put a whole full body condom on.
Right before but it's gonna be a new normal. It's like I saw something that said a couple of years back was like there are kids now who are growing up in a world where there's never not been a 9/11 or never not been like the situation with mass shooting. So we adjust and make these changes, and it becomes a new normal after a while. So with this, there's gonna be a new normal, something that comes out of this that makes us correct. I always worry about in any situation like this where there's a certain level of panic and hysteria is the level of overcorrection, and because there's always that point where somebody's like, well, we got to do something, let's just do this, and they go pretty far with it, but then they usually dial it back and find the comfort zone. So that little period is actually what we're seeing now. And, that's why you got people like we talked about last week, the guy walking up to the Asian guy on the train and spraying him with, Febreze and all this stuff. And I'm like, Febreze doesn't even, it's just to make it, but he said it was because of that. And, just the ignorance and stuff, the little things that people do. But I mean, I feel like we'll figure it out as humans, we typically do, so.
What's the answer, John?
The answer is to get a pack of Erykah Badu incense.
Hey,
amen.
Light them.
it's one of the few times I agree with John.
Pretend it's like sage.
I feel like if we put together, we could get a pack.
We can afford a pack if we put it
split
together.
It up 3 ways.
$33 a piece.
Yeah, let's go.
I'll put in 34. I'll put the extra dollar.
You be like, it smells like hummus.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Herbert Jones smells like hummus.
Erykah Badu got the answer, bro.
She must have ate asparagus that week.
Right. That's why Jay Electronica is out here slumming. Right. Like, bro, you got to get it together.
Say that she messes up. She did the Common, the
I know.
Andre 3000.
Yeah,
but I mean,
so she got the
3000
J.
never really lost his touch though.
But when she got, because 3000 was regular at first, but after Erykah, it came like
fuzzy pants.
Yeah.
Everything he wore was knitted.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Because 3 Stacks used to wear the Braves jersey.
Right, I remember.
After Erykah, that nigga.
He was like, I need to find out But how good is it that it makes you try to go on a journey of discovery within yourself?
I'm still curious. So Erykah, I'm still curious. I don't mind being a 4th baby daddy because it's you. Like, I'm not doing that with no regular person, but I could be baby daddy number 4.
That's great. So before we get into the interview, I wanted to ask y'all a question real quick, and I wish Fruitfit was here because I wanted to get a female response on it too. But I wanted the young lady.
She ain't watching. She just
I didn't see her on
there. She just all
yet.
the way quarantined. Damn,
Right.
All right.
Scared to touch your
But
phone.
the young lady, boss lady, who's been on here a few times, she's a good friend of mine, and she put up a question on social media, and she puts these questions up just to get people's opinions, and I thought it was an interesting topic, and so I just wanted to get you guys' opinions on it. She said, if you're married or in a serious relationship with someone, should that person know where you are at all times?
What? I wasn't paying attention. What'd you say?
If you're married or in a serious relationship with someone, should that person know where you are at all times? And I'm gonna tell you. Well, I wanted to get y'all's opinion, but I'm gonna tell you why I said it.
Because John can get in trouble.
But I mean, you've been in serious relationships before, so do you feel
my answer is easy because I never really was in a relationship with someone that was like, overbearing like that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's never been an issue. So in my scenario, I could say no, not at all, because I wasn't concerned about where my significant other was at all times. You know what I'm saying? But I want to hear from John, because John can get his ass whooped. So I want to hear.
I don't like how you putting my man out there like that.
I know, right?
I'm just real curious to know. I want to know.
So I feel like anyone in a significant relationship can be asked about where they are. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think that at the end of the day, they're like check-ins, like, yo, this is what happened today. It's something that's eventful that happened. This is something that. But to be, if that's what folks have as an agreement, then I think you should honor that. But but there's always like a debrief at some point in time during the day where you just talk about your day, and they can, some folks can ask questions. So
I agree with John. I think it's about the relationship between the two people involved, because the certain people may be cool with it, but others may not. I think it's about communicating what those two individuals in that relationship expect from each other. That has to do with the individual person, as opposed to like a general blanket, like, oh, this is how relationships should be. Like, nah, because if those two people,
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent. I would tell you my answer to that.
Oh, you got to answer
was, it's a simple yes, they should know, but they shouldn't need to know. And by that I mean
you try to get deep, Dave.
Well, yeah, and that's why I wanted to. I was like, because I felt like my answer had some validity to it. But anyway,
as long as you got your location app on, the government know where you are.
Right, they know where you are anyway, so it don't
all
matter.
the time.
But just for when you get into a certain level of a relationship with somebody, that person's your partner, that person's the person you're planning to spend the rest of your life with, and things of that nature. There's a level of safety and a level of security to having someone, just letting someone know where you're going to be, just off some in case something happens. Like the people who be like, nobody need to know where I am. Like D.L. Hughley was like, I feel like because I'm the man of the house and I make all the money, nobody should be able to ask me where I'm going.
See,
and he said
that
answer
because that can get you in trouble.
Well, yeah, but he said that because his father, whenever his mother would ask where you going, he would say something like, I'm going to see a man about a horse. You don't need to know where I'm going. I pay the bills and stuff like that. But those are the type of people that like have a stroke and drive off the side of the road and nobody finds them ever. Like, I want you to at least know what vicinity I'm going to be in case something happens, but then again, like I said, I'm, about to be 40. So that's where my mindset is with it. And then it's also like, I'm not doing anything that's, I have no problem sharing where I am. And I feel like I said, if that's your partner, somebody should know where you are, just for safety purposes.
You could be outside giving a whole bunch of people fives, be in a hand game competition, come back and touch everybody. Like, I mean, it's important just to have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Folks, when you do have someone who cares about you, they also can look out for your well-being too.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I was saying.
Traffic jams or the other things. So.
But they shouldn't. I feel like they shouldn't feel. They shouldn't feel that they have to know.
Yeah, you don't want to
somebody
feel like
feels
you
like
have a boss or supervisor.
If you feel like you need to track somebody, or they feel like they need to track you, you're in the wrong relationship. Or you need to have a serious discussion about trust in your relationship and make that decision. So that's why I thought it was a good question. Shout out to Boss Lady. She always has those. So I want to get into talking to our guest, Mr. John. You have my voice. I don't know why my voice cracks sometimes. Like,
you excited? You excited? John, we got a superstar on here today.
Yeah, man. He's pretty
Dave
famous.
Is nervous.
He's pretty famous.
Superstar.
I got to get my nerves in check.
Get your notes together, Dave.
But I wanted to. I have my notes right here. But we talked about it a little bit when you first came in about how creative people are usually, creative in more than one avenue. I always use the example of like Jim Carrey, who's one of the arguably one of the funniest, actors out there, but he also, has a strong dramatic performance. But then outside of the realm of acting, he also, paints.
He's an excellent painter.
He's a great. I've heard him sing, and he really has like a voice. He can really do that, and a couple of other things that he does, and just people like that who have all these avenues and of creativity that pour out of them. And with that being said, you do a lot of stuff, man. You're, is there anything that you do that is like the favorite or the base or like the core thing that you come to, or is all of it kind of like in the realm of?
So I think
you didn't say who he was, Dave.
We did the intro.
We gave an intro.
I thought you were supposed to give it up. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I mean,
so many people are watching my live for John. It's strange.
Yeah. We have
should
John
just make
Johnson
him on the show
building.
so we can get viewers.
Yeah, John Johnson.
Yeah.
Neighborish live. No, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I was going to say, so a couple things. I think many people have a myriad of skills. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, when I had my children, the conversation was who makes the least amount of money. So I stayed home and had to stay home and watch the babies. You know what I mean?
Being able to have that level of compromise. First, did that like was for a guy? Was that like tough for you at all?
I'm kind of.
I don't want to get too deep
No. I'm just saying, but just in reference to my wife and I, like gender roles is something that we kind of let go of because at the end of the day, like not both man and woman can cook. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So. It's not, I can't breastfeed, but I can strap a baby to my back and go on a walk, because I physically have that kind of affinity to do that. So I'm just saying, like, in general, kind of just letting go of who you define yourself to be and just finding out what your skill sets are, then you become better. And just to answer your question, too, I think a lot of it has been survival. Like, at the end of the day, if I get a grant to write a play, I'm going to write a play. But if I get a grant to do oral histories, I'm going to do oral histories because that's the way I pay my bills.
Right.
And then in that process, you become better. I feel like even the images in general, just being an artist, the repetition brings excellence. Right. So whatever you do over and over again, you become better at. If you masturbate every day, you will become a master masturbator. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to be able.
Interesting analogy to use, but go ahead.
I'm just saying whatever you do. I'm just saying like whatever you choose to do. If you do it every day consistently, you become better at it. So part of I feel like my walk is I've just had a long time to continue to stay in art. Okay. And so the thing that I like to do the most currently is something called playback theater, which is a part of like storytelling and improv. So I really enjoy that because I enjoy the stories that come from people. I feel like it honors, the stories that are unheard because you got to have, like 1 million followers and everyone wants to hear what you have to say. But I want to hear the folks who don't have any followers, who are not on social media, and I'm excited to hear what people have to say. So, I mean, that's where my yearning comes from in general, and it feeds into everything else that I do.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah. So the playback theater is something you do under the verbal gymnastics umbrella. So let's start with like, what is verbal gymnastics? If you had to like sum it up, and
So Jason and I have a long history, and
Okay.
I remember when we used to when that was the room with his kids stuff in it, but we used to hang out in the room all the time. We talk about like eventually, we're gonna have babies, and how do we make it as full-time artists? We would ask those questions to one another, and part of it was becoming independent. And the way you go about that is by creating your own business, your own entity.
Right.
So and because it's very different. When I go to an institution, I'm like, this, you want to pay John Johnson, they only want to pay me as an individual.
Right,
but when I
right.
go to them and I'm like, oh, there's a company, Verbal Gymnastics.
Yeah.
Then we're talking a different type of economic conversation. You know what I mean? And then I can rally all my other fellow artists and teams together to implement whatever we discuss.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just basically having a different conversation as an individual than as an actual company. So
Okay.
creating our own companies have allowed us to have more opportunity than just coming to an institution as an individual and then being considered an artist as a laborer.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, because the entity gives you the power to demand, more wages or higher pay and things of that nature,
and to be creative. Like, what do you guys want to do? Oh yeah, we could do. You want us to shoot something to edit it? We could do that. You want us to
having
10 actors? We could do
Right,
that. Like,
right.
it's not, you're not just hiring John. You're hiring my knowledge base and the years
Right.
of art that I've been doing, and my ability to go out and galvanize my own artist community to meet whatever goal that you want.
That's
It's a
amazing.
very different
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, and it makes you that much more equitable. That's dope, man. That's dope. So where did the name come from, Verbal Gymnastics?
So I had a dentist who,
Okay.
his name is Dr. Wilson. What's up, Dr. Wilson? You probably not on social media, but,
Right.
but he was always talking about the 7 parts of speech.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, he'd be in your mouth like, what's the 7 parts of speech? You try to talk to him like, he's like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Go learn the 7 parts of
Didn't
speech.
know what you're saying, right?
Right, and so and he would actually use verbal gymnastics in a negative time, like people just talking shit, like these politicians out here just using verbal gymnastics, convincing
Right,
people
right.
to, I was like, I actually like that term, what I mean,
Right,
as
right,
far as like
yeah.
taking words, making them flip, being a poet,
Exactly.
being a writer, like giving words this malleable kind of feeling, and not like shit talking, but like actually real, like creating a lane for words to exist and create narratives and stories. So that's where the name Verbal Gymnastics came from, my dentist.
From your dent. That's an interesting story. I didn't expect that, but so going back even further, because to be able to use that name and apply it to what you do, it had to start with like love of like the written word and writing. So where did that start, or where did that come from?
So I, as a elementary school student, I was in the lowest reading class and the highest math class. So I'm pretty good with numbers.
Okay.
But I've always had challenges with English and the language, and then one of my teachers introduced me to poetry, and poetry didn't have to, you get your paper mark, that's a run-on sentence, and but in poetry that's just a long ass line. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you got enough breath, you can say it in that line.
Exactly.
And so it was a freedom that I experienced in education when I was introduced to poetry. I'm like, I can write whatever I want. I can even spell it wrong as long as I know what I'm saying when I stand up and spit it in front of folks.
Right.
And that freed me up to be like, okay, let me actually use this language to create my own narrative and to make these words flip and to tell stories that come out of my brain. You know what I mean? Because I was struggling with it for so long, and now I can use these letters, these 26 letters,
Right.
and do whatever I want with them.
Right, it's an amazing thing. Like I used to rap. I had a line that said, "We work with the most negotiable currency is the spoken word." Because like the only reason money has the value that it is because we say it does. So like being able to, like you say, use that and mold it and make it into something that people actually, that becomes a thing, like a play or a book or whatever, or poetry, just something that contributes to the zeitgeist of the world.
And that's really important right now, because that is where alchemy exists. Like in these times of uncertainty and stuff, like we have to actually use our minds and come up with innovative, creative ways to do anything. Whether we're singing songs to our children in the morning, whether we're I made a decision like this last year. I've gone through some serious health issues, and then and I was like, I'm going to use art as currency. So to use it like, yo, if you want me and you don't got the money, then what do you offer? If I'm coming to your institution, you offer counseling, then me and my family come in for some counseling sessions. Dang. I can give you my art, but we're getting some counseling sessions. And you know what I mean? So like, it doesn't have to have the commerce attached to it that we typically have. And I feel like that's a better way because we were integrated as Black people. We're integrated into those systems. Right. You know, like the stock market, which has been going. We were exchanged on you know what I'm saying? Like we were traded. You know what I'm saying? So. And then we're told to then compete in that system. So the only way to flip it is to actually use our arts or our skill sets and barter and trade in a different way than you know, than somebody else who sets the standard for what we're valued at. Exactly.
Yeah, man. And I feel like to a certain extent, there's a war or a concerted effort to kind of suppress that ability to use our art, right, and that connection that we have with the art to like you said, in these times, it's something that we have to use our minds and our you know, our art, basically our expression, to kind of make it through. And it just feels like that it's being like with all the technology and everything, it's people don't do as much thinking and free thinking as to that matter.
As well as like the Nike swoosh was an artist created that swoosh. They probably had like 100 different variations of
the
that.
Swoosh,
you know what I mean?
right?
Like,
You
know, the Puma emblem, like the, you know, like all of those things were created by artists, and then they were used by a corporate entity to make money to create a brand. And I'm just saying, like, I think sometimes we dumb those things down. Like, how are we gonna get creative now with feeding our children when school is closed?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, is that starting a garden? You know what I'm saying? Is that establishing relationships with your boy who got the guns and the toilet paper?
Right.
You know what I mean? We really have to be creative all the time, not just in times of need, but all the time. So when times of need arise, then you can actually resolve problems with creativity and think out of the box, as opposed to like, you know, these very, you know, like structured ways of that are given to us by like upper management who doesn't do what we do. Like, you know what I mean? Like right now society's finding out what it's like when people don't show up for work because their kids are home.
Right, exactly. It's a whole new thing. Like, it hasn't, like I was saying, I haven't seen anything like this in my lifetime. Anything outside of like a natural disaster or a storm or something that kept people, like snow or something like that kept people from work. Something to be like a virus, you know.
Right, and it's technically invisible. You know what I'm saying? So what Jason's talking about is having faith and all these other things that tend to be in like the spiritual world, or you know what I mean. So like, what do you do when there's uncertainty? You stay calm. You know what I'm saying? Like you become more compassionate, more loving. You know what I mean? Because that's the way you get through it. You know what I mean? You can't, because if you freak out, then you are just, you know, we
contributing.
What I'm saying, but human beings, we pride ourselves on saying we're thinking and we're not like instinctual like animals.
Right.
But when you panic, you become just instinctual.
That fight or flight is there.
You can't make any sound decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is really time for us to be compassionate, loving, and creative.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you become what the people who don't have the capacity to do that need at that time. So, yeah, that's dope, man. I knew this was going to be a good conversation. So, let me ask you, do you remember the first thing you wrote? Like the first play or poem, or let's say poem. The first poem you wrote, do you remember it? Or maybe not like line for line, but at least like what it was about. Or
so I remember. So I don't know. We all kind of like in the same kind of age range.
Right.
A long time ago, we used to take like a VH. I mean, I don't know, cassette tape.
And
used to put the tape over the joint
and
find another radio and used to play like the instrumental and then rap on it. Like I used to do that. I used to sit there and just rhyme on them, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you realize like, okay, if I take away the beat and I just say the lyrics, then it's a poem. You know what I mean? So like, you know, I'm a person who's like hip hop, but like also I hear Nas. I think Nas is a poet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So like,
definitely.
you know, I think J. Cole's a poet. You know, I think Jason's a poet. I like the songs where I hear him.
Get lyrical.
So you know, those I gravitate to that. I like the words. I like the, you know, why you put that word next to that word, like how the third line is associated with the first line. So you know, my first phase was just like rhyming over a tape. And then it was like, once I got that freedom to be like, oh, it doesn't matter how I spell these words from the poetry teacher. I was like, oh, well, I can write my little messed up words because I don't know if I before E except after C.
Right, exactly.
I know a word I just wrote down.
Yeah, you know what it means.
Right, so, and then that, you know, and from there on, then you had a notebook you know, you would just jot down there. You put everything in your phone. That's
right. Yeah. So yeah, man. It's but you don't remember like what the name of it was or anything like that. The first.
No, I don't remember my first poem, but I remember, you know, just trying to rhyme. So you know, anything you say, you know, it probably started with your name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm John, not a con artist. You know, like it's something, you know, something that just kind of like, you know.
That was tough because I couldn't really find too much to rhyme with David.
Slave.
But no, that's Dave though. He always was slated.
Slave
We're
Dave.
gonna move away from that and move to the next question. So do you but, so do you remember the first play that you saw?
I don't remember the first. I don't remember the first play that I saw, but I remember the first time I froze up though.
The impact was more.
Right.
Yeah,
so like you know, all kids in February end up being like Martin Luther King or you know somebody. I know I was at church and I think I was like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or somebody, and I had to like say like 2 lines, and I swear like I looked up and I saw the audience. I was like, they waiting on me to speak. And everything just shut down. Like, you know, then they start clapping for you, then you start crying, you know, and then you get up there, you only say like 2 words, and they still clap for you because they're trying to encourage you.
Right, yeah.
And I was dissatisfied with it. I was like, I didn't get out, I didn't do my job.
Right, okay.
And I remember being like, how do I get, like, what, you know, how do you get over stage fright? How do you get over those things? And even now, like, you still get nervous. Like, I don't care how many times you get up in front, you're like, man, am I going to be able to get this message across? Am I going to be able to do it right? Yeah. And, you know, you get comfort from rehearsal. That's another thing that Jason and I talk about a lot, like repetition. Yeah. You know, like you know, oftentimes when you hear a person sing a song, they done sung it 1,000 times.
Exactly.
Or a poem.
Even the ad-libs.
Right. So and then as you get more mature in what you do, then you can slow it down. You can talk in between things. You can connect with the audience better. Exactly. You know, but I remember like literally freezing and being upset that I wasn't able to get the message across. And that would kind of start to drive me to be like, what do I need to do in order to prepare myself better so when I stand up in front of people, I can actually articulate myself.
Okay. Yeah. So remember that, because that's some of the most impactful moments is like your mistakes that really imprint on you.
And I think like it was like I had a dream. It was it was like the most standard line that you ever had to say. You like, oh, I couldn't say I had a dream in front of my mama.
Right. After it, you go then all the way home. You're like, I had a dream. You know, I love talking to creatives, especially artists, because you see the parallels and how you go through a lot of the exact same situation. I had a few of those. Like with music and rapping and stuff, just freezing up and stuff, and then being like, how can I, you know, get to the point where I can do this? And so, you know, my remedy was the same. It was just like practice my way out of. So I practiced to the point where everything was so second nature that then I could have the freedom to embellish and add, you know. So yeah, that's such a powerful thing.
And a lot of it comes from like either disappointment because you didn't get it right, or when someone claps and that applause, that's success gives you a little boost. It's like vitamin C to your immune system. You're like, okay, I want to get that. I want that again. It's like a little, and then you like. You know, you try to evaluate. And let me just say this other thing, too, about artists. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like an artist is a master of observation. You know, for somebody to actually take a paint and paint someone standing in front of them and be able to universally, you know, connect that to everybody else, that's important. So, you know, a lot of what we do is we make observations, and we kind of make ourselves the executives of those observations.
Okay.
Like, yo, I want you to come hear my observation of the coronavirus.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just important to sometimes, even though artists do a lot of speaking and stuff, I do spend a lot of time just being quiet and walking and listening to other people, so you can get like a general understanding of the world that you live in outside of yourself.
Exactly.
Because then when you stand up, you represent the narrative of many people. And then you can add, you know, but in there you add your own like unique perspective in there too. But like, you know, a lot of being an artist is listening and observing, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, observation and introspection. Introspectiveness. You know what I mean. But so that's such an important part of any good artist, I think, is that period. Like you said, exactly what you said. Like I agree with everything you've said so far. I ever did. But do you I already asked about the place. So look, you threw me off. I was so happy with that.
Can I just add some extra thing on there?
Sure, go ahead.
And this is for all the other artists and those folks who are friends with artists. Right now it's really hard for all of us. Like all of my events have gotten canceled.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the way we make our money. That's the way we feed our family.
It's tough, yeah.
When art does resume again, please go buy a ticket to a play, go see some art. I mean, you probably gonna be fiending for some social interaction at that point in time.
Right.
But just understand that like we were already like elevator music in many of the eyes of institutions and stuff like that. But now we really are suffering because everything's been shut down. Like and the other thing that I just realized the other day when they said, okay, we're stopping gatherings of people of 1,000 or now it's like 50.
Now it's 50,
You realize that artists and entertainers, that's their superpower.
Exactly.
To galvanize thousands and hundreds of people together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and now it's like, our superpower is being limited.
Right,
you know what I'm
right. They found the kryptonite for the superpower.
I mean, social media exists. We can do events and stuff like this, but like at the end of the day, that's a tough, and then the fear they may pursue in that where people are scared to go back out and engage in that type of. So we have to be creative and figure out what is that new system look like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and that's so true because even with like the social media, the people who derive off the feedback of that live performance, it's going to be tough for them to get past that.
But maybe what it would do though is it'll make people appreciate those things. I remember sometimes you go to a concert and everybody got their phone out recording the artist.
I try to never do that.
Like you are in the space with the artist.
Right.
Like if anything, just watch
Absorb
the shit
it,
and then go tell everybody about it through your own words.
You don't have to be a camera. They got camera people there.
Right. Like if you wanted to watch the shit, you could have stayed home and saved your money for it. So I'm just saying I think it's time for us to really evaluate. Like, look, y'all, if y'all coming, everybody, like we've been at home our whole lives. Like turn your phones off and just come and be present.
Be present.
And listen to the words that folks are saying and respond, you know what I'm saying, authentically to what you're hearing. Be engaged in that way. So I'm hoping it makes us look at ourselves from that and kind of like, wean ourselves off of like our addiction to social media because we're going to be super addicted after being in the house.
All this time. And that's all we have to really feed off.
They'll be scratching like, my phone. Right. I got 10% battery life. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
But what inspires you? Like when you work, like when you do like, poetry or the plays that you come up with, like where does the inspiration for that art come from?
From people. You know what I mean? Like, art is a connector of people. So like, when you hear folks' stories, they kind of stick to me. You know what I mean? Like they don't go away. You know what I'm saying? And it's, they teach you how to, like recently I did an interview with Core Masters Berry.
Oh, nice.
And also this guy named Frank Smith, Dr. Frank Smith, who was a city council member. Mm-hmm. And, they give these amazing narratives of D.C., when it was super chocolate city, and like, and all these varying classes of people. And you're like, wow, like you can, as we talk about it changing, when you hear stories of the past, you're like, oh, what? You see the dramatic change, even though they talk about it over a 60-year period. Yeah. And then you can say, well, I can actually change that myself because I'm the modern day, person who can pull and twist and turn and change those things. So, I mean, like those stories just stick to me. And I'm inspired by incidents, by people, by, I like stand-up comedy. So I watch a lot of stand-up because I think that's an amazing art form to be able to be a storyteller and to tell stories. I mean, everything. And then the motivation of just like, I need to take care of my family.
Right. So. That's the strongest.
And I want to do it as an artist. So I take it very seriously.
That's dope. So, I asked Jay the full list because, I knew some of your plays, but you have, the list he sent me was One Man in a World Full of Women, Sentenced, The Unemployment Lines, I Am Anacostia, and he said the World of Mambo, but what was it?
I think it's the Other Side of Mambo.
The Other Side of Mambo. And then you had the These Nuts series.
And the These Nuts series.
Yeah, and I saved that one for last because I was trying to find like a way to say that These Nuts was my favorite without sounding weird, without it sounding a little
These
awkward.
These Nuts are my favorite.
No, but not R, because that makes it sound even weird. That series of plays is because that was the first one Jay had hit me, like the first one, and was like, I'm in this play, come do it, check it out. And I came there and I was blown away to the point where I ran up to him, like, I don't know if it was immediately after, but I remember saying like, that was amazing. Like, was that something you really went through? Because I felt that and I've been through stuff like that. And he was like, well, nah, it was just, my man John wrote it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I, the way he delivered it, and shout out to his acting ability, it felt so, powerful.
Everybody wrote wrote their own piece.
Okay, you wrote your own piece?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that. I don't. You probably told me that too. Anyway,
I'm sure I did.
But yeah, just putting that whole thing together was amazing. Those monologues that balance. Do you have a favorite a play that you've written?
So I'm gonna answer that question, but I want to just have a little bit more dialogue. So
Sure.
even with my children, it's funny how you don't realize how male dominated the world is till you sometimes have children. You're like, whoa, every Disney movie there's like some knight rescuing a woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then Moana came out. I don't know if you guys seen Moana, but Moana was like a coming of age story from a little girl's perspective where she was, destined to be the leader of her tribe, and then she goes on an adventure, all that kind of stuff. But it didn't have a male savior.
Okay. Which
I think was, and it's like, so and so that dawned on me just because I have two girls. But as well as it's important to put our own narrative out. Like we got beards now and dreadlocks. But if you look, on TV, there's like Kojo or somebody. You know what I'm saying? They don't, even though they might be black people who are presented in mainstream media, they don't really reflect, my narrative or my story. So I felt like it was very important to always have somebody who was a reflection of the community in my pieces and to write about my community because it's a very unique. We live in the nation's capital, which still has a predominantly black population. Yeah. And I'm sure people are shocked when they come in and be like, whoa, I didn't know this many black people existed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they're good black people. Let's just give them a try.
But I'm just saying, so we have to celebrate that, even as it's being eroded now. We don't get to dap each other up the same way. There's no more Unifest. There's no more black family reunions. You know what I'm saying? So places like this that have the black love experience and, who keep that culture and that narrative is important. And then, but every genre, you need black music, you need black art, you need black toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? We need we need folks not only to consume, our art, but it needs to be authentic from where we come from. It needs to have our own narrative attached to it. Like mumbo sauce means something very different than ketchup.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It has culture attached to it. You know what I'm saying? So all of the pieces I put have that is the undercurrent of everything. It's we need to tell our own stories and our own narratives.
I feel that when I see your pieces too. You kind of answered my next question, but I'm sure you have a little more in depth about it. With being a playwright and that being one of your your main focuses to a certain extent. There are definitely places like New York, Atlanta's place scene. Theater scene is really coming up and things like that. Cali, not so much, but different places you could have went. Why was it important for you to stay here and kind of build that legacy here in this area?
That's a great question. So when I graduated from UDC, I went to UDC and studied theater. My professors, you're a black actor. And so other than February, you unemployed for 11 months. Right. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, you can play, you got dreadlocks, you can be Bob Marley's cousin. Right. That's great. But then after February's over with, it's like, oh, you back to, making smoothies or slushies or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Trying to. So they always encouraged us to go and audition for a Disney cruise. That was you're about to be gifted with this degree. You probably gonna have to get a regular job, but hopefully you get on one of these Disney cruises. You can make a decent living for yourself until your knees don't work from dancing and singing, songs or whatever, right? And I was like, man, I can't. That's not my trajectory. One, I can't sing. You know what I'm saying? Two, it just didn't feel right as that was my only narrative once I graduated. Right. So I went to New York. And this was a time where you still had to have a headshot and resume, and the professor was like, find a New York number because they see a DC number, they're not gonna hire you. It was all these little tactics about going to New York. And when you go to New York, they are hiring all over the country for non-union and unionized workers. So when I went up, there was an August Wilson play, and I was like, all right, man, I'm going to audition, and they have a union day just for there's unionized actors and there's non-union actors,
learned that distinction very.
So I wasn't, I just graduated. I didn't have a union card, so I went to the non-union joint. And I'm saying the people who showed up, I think this play was written in the '60s. August Wilson, whatever play, 7 guitars or something like that. And the actors who were auditioning wore the '60s or '70s clothing just for the audition. I was like, yo, you spent $200 on your outfit for audition so that was when I was just super humble, damn, they go hard in New York. And then I went to an open mic in Greenwich Village, and of course you can't get on the list because it's only the people who, right. And everybody who came up on the stage was killing. It was a dude who looked like he just got finished working on cars, and he got up and sung. He sounded like Tender Pendergrass. It was a whole bunch of dudes with like, New York Yankee baseball caps on and jeans sagging, but then it was like an a cappella group, and they were like, everybody was excellent. And I was like, yo, I don't know if this is my lane to come up here and compete with all like you got oil stains on your joint, but you sound just like an album. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I was like, we live in a city with 700,000 people. Mm-hmm. If I can just get 1% of those folks to support the work that I do, then I can be successful. You know what I'm saying? This is the time where folks will beginning to like move away from being signed with labels and, create their own mixtapes, and the CDs. I don't know if people even have CD players anymore, but like,
I do.
He was like, yo, if I, and then I think it was Lupe was like, yo, if I sell 5,000 CDs for $10, that's $50,000.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And then you can actually make your way. You know what I'm saying? That way. So, I mean, it just opened up, and then you start to see DC change a little bit, and people can buy, $15 margaritas, and they can buy your mixtape. They can support you. They can buy a book. So it gave me the confidence to be like, I can actually do this.
Dope.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, all
right. Why it was important to stay in this area. Yeah, I appreciate
it. Your bass is at home. You know what I mean? Like even artists who go away, they got to come back and get their bass right. You know what I'm saying?
You find that out quick.
Yeah, you find out that's where you have to be loyal to the folks who put you on, and DC's my home, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're a father. You said you have how many kids?
I have 2.
2 kids, and did fatherhood affect or change your art in any way?
Yes. A couple things. It made me more patient. I thought I was patient before, but art has made me more patient. Okay. It's challenged me to actually really work on time management, because before when we had kids, we would get together, and just talk until art came about. You know what I'm saying? Then you're like, I got this hour, everybody's asleep.
Right.
I got to take a shower myself, not doze off, and I got to finish this poem, boy.
Right.
As well as incorporating them into my skill set. So like I want my children also to be artisans. You know what I'm saying? Like I want them to be storytellers and to understand the narrative and how to use words to get yourself in situations as well as out of situations. So, I mean, I spend a lot of time with them making sure that they understand what daddy does. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, children inspire you in many different ways. I mean, they are. You see yourself, and then you realize your mortality too. Like I don't know how much longer I can be an independent artist, but I'm going to try as long as I possibly can, and then maybe my kids will take it over. But at the end of the day, like I want them to be fed off of my art. So, when you look them in their eyes, you're like, I got to go do this because
right. They waiting. They
they're
hungry today. They
exactly.
Trying to wait for yeah. That's dope. So, and that leads me to just in your opinion, why is it so important to pass that? And I think we talked about that a little bit. That ability, the need for art, and like especially in times like these. But in your opinion, why is it important to pass that on to the next generation to make sure they understand how important art is as a form of communication, as a form of therapy, as everything?
So I always feel like artists are undervalued in society, especially in America. Although, they make the most money at the top of the food chain, you know what I'm saying? But then, after Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise and, Oprah, then everybody else makes minimum wage, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
it's feast the family.
Right. But I feel like it is going to be something that is valued. Being creative is everything. So like, just for a second, imagine, what is it? Steve Jobs, right? Who's like, yo, I'm gonna create this thing. You know that phone that you got plugged in the wall?
Yeah.
It's not gonna have a cord anymore, and you're gonna be able to. It's gonna have this thing called the internet on it too.
Right.
You're gonna be able to put all your music on the joint. They gonna look at him like he crazy.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
yo. Like if you talked about Uber, like just even 10 years ago, like you're gonna be able to hit this thing, you'll see a car, it's gonna pull up. It's gonna be a driver, and they're gonna take you where you want. You like so you have to be creative and be a visionary in whatever you do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, you literally gonna follow the ideas of somebody else. So like just the sheer fact that you can generate your own idea. You know what I'm saying? And I know people say, "Oh, there's nothing new under the sun," but you better try to create that new idea.
You
know what I'm saying? I would say the iPhone is something that's new. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like so like it's important to have that skill set and that tool because it saved my life. I mean, it's allowed me to get out of, tickets, you know what I'm saying? It's being creative and coming up with a way and not necessarily just being, accepting your condition is what creativity is used for. And I feel like it's the equalizer too. I feel like, not to be like super like spiritual and everything, but I feel like God, I feel like she created art to equalize everything else. So like, wherever you go, where there's poverty is where this the most beautiful art's created. Whether somebody beating on a bucket, you know what I'm saying, or just using, or taking tires and creating flip-flops out of them and selling them to the tourists. Like creativity is the thing that allows for us to adapt and survive. And I feel like it is a necessity in our lives. You know what I mean? So even they call it cooking is culinary arts. You know what I'm saying? So we should see everything that we do in an artistic manner, and I feel like it'll allow us to get out of some of these boxes of limitations.
That's true. And and cooking is a good example of how the art is taken and made into, because now cooking isn't what it used to be. It's like I have one of my cousins actually went through culinary art school, graduated toward the top of the class. I don't know if he was the top, but he was really a very detail-oriented chef and took the time to make these recipes and these masterful pieces and stuff. And now, like, the jobs he has or offered, working in hotels or working in different places, everything is microwave. Everything is so, and I mean, it's the same thing with any level of creativity. They take it and chop it up and make it, something less. But that artisanship, like you said, is not as is highly valued, but not as valuable.
Well, and it, sometimes it becomes challenging. Like if an institution wants to hire me, they do put parameters around what I may envision, and I have to
microwave.
But they be like, "Yo, put your art in the microwave." You're like, "Whoa.
Right.
I like to heat my art up in the stove, sir."
Exactly.
And you have to kind of toe that line because they have the economic resources, and sometimes you gotta stand your ground and be like, "Well, I'm not the artist for you."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you can still maintain relationships with them, and then eventually they come around, they might use you or not. But so like that is. Because unlike I guess a typical 9-to-5 where you have a supervisor or someone who maybe who audits you or who kind of guides you, like in the course of a year I probably have like 20-25 different clients.
Right.
So everybody is different, and I have to treat everybody like they're the only one, as well as negotiate with them at times where I don't feel like I feel like they either mess with my artistic integrity or I need to understand more what they want.
Right.
What I mean? Yeah. And whether I'm going to buy into it or not. Like, so that's the biggest struggle, because at the end of the day, you're like, if I say no, I don't get paid. So it's still some of the same parallels between like the regular 9-to-5 and being an independent artist.
Exactly. So I always like to ask all of my guests this question. I like to enjoy the answers because it's kind of an introspective question. If you had an opportunity to go back in time and talk to a young John Johnson, let's say a 13-year-old John Johnson, understanding all the things that you've been through at this point, everything that you know today, all the wisdom that you've gained, all the life experience, what would that conversation be like? What would you say to 13-year-old John Johnson?
I'd be like, yo, stop masturbating for a second. Hold up. John, look me in my eye. Take a break, homie.
No, I understand that it is what it is, but just stop for a second.
Alternate, man. Your right arm's bigger than your left arm. And then I was like, all right, okay, I got your attention. Go wash your hands. It's going to be this coronavirus later on.
Right.
You need to get in the habit of washing your hands, especially after that. And then I would say, I would tell myself to be patient, man, because I think that's what's allowed me to be successful, to really take deep breaths and to be patient. And I would have liked to have learned how to play an instrument. Okay. So I would like to be able to pick up an instrument, because I feel like
never too late, John.
Yeah,
it's never too late. Jason's a prime example. I talk about him all the time. But like, as we evolve, you know what I mean? Like we end up, MC, cajon player, congo player, so like, that's something that I would have enjoyed, and probably would taken primary school a little bit more seriously. You know what I mean? It was more of a social experience, because like you like, again, like I feel like, but I actually I wouldn't even change that, because like I said before, I was in the highest math class and the lowest reading class, and I got to see my peers in a very like everybody in the lower reading class was joning because we couldn't read. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, oh, you know, when it came around, you know, you sit in a circle, and like if you could catch up far enough, you're like, all right, let me go over my part. You know what I mean? You get mad if somebody read too far. Like, they never read my part. You know what I'm saying?
I knew that. That was the one I hated.
Right. So you know, but you learned that was a coping mechanism, and that was their wit and humor. But in in the math class, we was silent. You know, because math is very precise. And I was like, oh, like, but these two groups of people were almost like, it was almost like society was dividing us. And there was something to that creativity, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you need to learn how to read, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very important.
And there's something to the rigor of like being very specific with the math, you know? So I kind of learned both of those things, but it came later on, like when I actually got to college, because that was like when you really get the reins taken off of you.
Right.
And you like, yo, I have to survive.
Yeah,
like, and you know, I remember the only reason I went to college because I didn't want to go into the military, and I didn't want to go directly into working with just a high school diploma, because you know, you just knew that the wages weren't going to be, you know, enough to be, you know, completely independent. So, you know, I hope that answers your question. Stop masturbating and take school seriously and pick up an instrument.
Okay. That's good advice for a 13-year-old boy. Yeah. And I mean, coming from your future self to know what to say to you. Like I said, I always enjoy those answers. You made me remember another question I wanted to ask you real quick. Your acting, did that come from just being a writer and wanting to see an actor, or was it something that you actually pursued and wanted to do?
So first of all, I think black people are probably the best actors in the world. You know, we got to go to work every day and pretend we like our jobs.
Right.
I mean, some of us do. I'm not knocking the fact that everyone doesn't, but like, you know, based upon what we've been through in this country, like we have amazing acting skills, in my opinion.
Right.
And so it was just it was just figuring out a way to, like, you know, to be able to like literally put yourself in someone else's shoes. And oftentimes when you know, if you're going through a tough time, you want to escape. You know, a lot of people do that, whether they drink or whether they smoke or use other illicit drugs. You know, I think it's important to be able to do that. And so it was an outlet for me. Like, oh, I get to play a leprechaun or something or I get to, you know, I get to do something different. I get to play this other narrative, or I have a different outcome. And then you realize, like, you can do that in real life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a perfect example is, like, you know, like, even now, like, when a telemarketer calls, you know, I'm going to act like I'm a, you know, like, hello.
Right, yeah.
Who is this?
Yeah, like.
Are you, who is this, you know, Donald Trump? You just start saying random, and that person's, like, on the phone, like, I don't know what I'm doing. They hang up on you.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah,
like, as opposed to, like, really being yourself and being frustrated. Like, you can just play all the time. Like, you know, at restaurants, you can do that. At the airport, you can do that. And you realize, like, you can watch the people in front of you, be like, okay, I got 3 more. I got to come up with something right now in order to get me through this situation. So
right, exactly.
It's just a useful tool. Like I'm saying, all the way around, creativity is a tool that you can use in order to adapt and survive in society.
Definitely. Yeah, that's. I think I do the same thing. I think we need to record some of those telemarketer conversations. I think people would get a kick out of it. Right. But yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming. Can I
read a poem real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I meant to talk about the book and everything. As a book of poetry. What's the name of that book?
It is called Love for Her.
Love for Her. And is there a specific her that it's the love for?
It's a whole bunch of hers. It's all of the hers that I've experienced in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So from like dating to being married to the little people who I'm teaching how to wipe from front to back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, all of the hers who influence, like, you know.
You're married now?
I am.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, cool.
So
congratulations. Probably been years and years.
Yes. So I'm gonna read because the DCPS is out.
Right.
I'm gonna read a poem called DCPS.
Okay.
Which is for.
I have a song called DCPS too.
Okay.
And I'm sure it's much worse than what John's about to read.
I have a grievance with DCPS, but we won't get into that. But yeah, go ahead.
And so DCPS stands for District of Columbia Public School System. So I had this teacher that kept it real with me when I was in high school. He said, life is a big chessboard. They're going to treat you like pawns and peons. Colonized by Europeans, your black life matters. You are a human beyond. You see, the world has these strange customs, and most people wear masks and costumes, like outfits like Halloween. For example, the other day I was dressed up as a black man, and I got pulled up by a man dressed up as a cop. And I knew immediately I should have worn my white man in khaki outfits because the interaction would have ended in him giving me candy corn instead of attention. So I said, officer, I know it's night and I'm traveling home diagonally like a bishop to my castle. And I'm trying to do it without hassle. I like to make it to the 8th rank to my queen. And I live 64 squares away right off of Martin Luther King. But the officer was like many of you. He didn't know how to play chess, nor did he know how to turn the body camera on that was on his chest. He didn't have the same history teacher either, the same history teacher that said, life is a big chessboard. They're going to treat you like pawns and peons, colonized by Europeans. Your black life matters. You are a human beyond. All right, so there we go.
Dope, yeah.
There we go. DCPS.
DCPS. Check them out. So, how many books of poetry do you have published?
I have one book of poetry published.
Published, and that's that one there.
That's that one right here.
Love her. And people can get that.
Oh, they can just hit me up to get it. It's
okay,
like...
yeah, and I definitely want you to give all your information. That's brilliant though, because being able to control, your sales and stuff. Make sure that like who'd you say said that if I sell this many at this amount, and I get there, and keeping
Lupe
all that money is Lupe,
yeah.
keeping all that money is
Well, I mean, it's what makes you your entity. You can
Exactly.
negotiate differently with folks once you own all your stuff. So I mean,
exactly.
And it takes a little while to get there. Like it's not again. The road is you have to be okay with having lean years and months. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is about to be very lean for all the other artists. Again, shout out to all artists who've had all their gigs canceled, as well as like the wage employees who really probably scrambling to figure out what to do, man. There's a lot of empathy for that. But again, kindness, empathy, sharing your toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? Like
he looked at Jay when he said that.
No, I'm saying a whole thing of Costco toilet paper lasts you till 2040.
Yeah, you don't need it, so you can share some.
You can share some of that, and that's what buys you real, capital amongst your people, man, because that's what we need right now.
Exactly. And so, yeah, man, I definitely want you to let everybody know where they can find you and where they can also
don't do no social media, bro.
But I mean, well,
call this nigga's phone. Good luck with that too. I don't know how you get in contact with John.
So I would say, come. We're going to have some playback shows.
No, we're not. Everything's shut down. Ain't no theaters going to open.
Hopefully in April and May. So look out for any announcements.
You got to find John on the street.
I'll post them on Facebook and Instagram. So just look out for some stuff. Come check us out. Come bring your stories. Come hang out with some great artists who are from the city. You know what I mean? And I appreciate all the support you guys have given me. You know what I'm saying? You guys are too. You guys live in my neighborhood. We are our own tribe and community. So I appreciate having opportunities like this. And I appreciate y'all coronavirus protocol that y'all still gonna keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that.
We don't let the corona hold us down. We wipe everything down, though. We make sure we stay clean and stay protected.
And shout out to Dave, man. The emails you sent me, he's real good with following up with
you. I know Dave,
sure.
This show wouldn't move without Dave.
This setup is really great, man. So shout out to Dave, man, for being dedicated to this and keeping this going, man. It's really important.
Shout out to me, yeah. Exactly. But if they wanted to purchase the book, they would contact you.
Yeah, hit me up on Facebook. Or hit me up on Instagram.
And then you also have verbalgymnastics.com, and that's where, like, if they wanted to get the services. And what services do you offer?
So verbalgymnastics.com is where you can get playback. You can hire me as a storyteller. You can,
oral
historian, anything creative. Like if you want to just talk to me about
break dance, toothbrushing skills,
how to motivate a group of people and get them to really, galvanize themselves. Like I can, that's something that we can do.
Yeah. So definitely check out verbalgymnastics.com. I looked at the site today because I've, only
it's updated, John. Okay, because that joint been the same for like 7 years.
Wait a minute, don't talk about it anyway. Hey. But yeah, no, I checked it out today, and because I was aware of like the the playwright and the poet and all that stuff, but all the other stuff that you do, like you said, the oral history and the playback theater and things like that. I was surprised. So yeah, you guys check it out and definitely support. And if they wanted to follow you on Instagram,
it is Verbal Gymnastics on Instagram. It's also Verbal Gymnastics on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Definitely. So I want to thank everybody for checking us out today. This has been a great show. I knew it would be because it's a dope individual that we have with us today.
And we didn't curse that much. I see your little parental advisory.
Yeah, I do it up. Jay said something, but
I did.
But I
I'm
tried
saying not that much.
It wasn't a lot.
Right, it wasn't as bad as it typically is. Yeah. So because Jay go ham sometimes. But anyway, But he was in and out dealing with the kids today.
Yeah.
But glad that we was able to do it today. We was able to have this show.
Shout out to all those parents at home with their kids right now.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all.
Learning the alphabet.
Our prayers are with you.
Yeah.
Learning how to do the whoa and all the other things your kids have been picked up in the years of school.
Yeah. So it's so interesting how they bring stuff home. I'll talk to you off there though. We got to wrap this up.
That's right.
But all right,
wrap
man,
it up, B.
So on behalf of myself, DC's native son, Jay's son, and our guest, John Johnson, thank you guys so much for checking us out today. This has been the Neighborish Livecast. Peace.